Hi guys. In this week's episode, I want to continue on my series that I'm trying to do on becoming a better guitarist. And this week, I want to look at the major scale. It's kind of a music theory episode, really. I don't. I've never really bothered with music theory too much. I learned a bit of it in college, but never really focused on it too hard or studied it after college. Um, but now I kind of feel like it would be a good time to start taking it more seriously and put a bit more effort into it. So we're going to start with the major scale. Um, it's the most basic scale there is. It's what all other scales are based off of. So if you're going to start learning scales, it's really the one to start with. It's a diatonic scale, which means it's made up of 7 notes plus one note, which is the octave of the root, so 8 notes total, really. Um, Scales are formed by moving up the notes in a sequence of whole steps and half steps. So a whole step is 2 frets on the guitar, and a half step is 1 fret on guitar. So if you imagine a piano roll, the distance between a white key and a black key is a half step, and the distance between 2 white keys which have a black key in between them is a whole step. In a major scale, the sequence of steps between the notes is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And that's really just something that you have to memorize. It's a pattern which is true for every major scale, and it's just something you have to ingrain in your head. The C major scale is the first one we'll start with. It's useful to learn because it has no sharps or flats. It's very easy to demonstrate this on a piano roll or a keyboard because if you start on a C note on a keyboard, it's a white key, and then the entire major scale is just every white key you press until you find the C an octave above the one you started on. So it has no sharps or flats in it, and when you apply the scale sequence of steps, the major scale sequence that we just covered, you get the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then the octave C. So here's a more complicated and in-depth view of it. You can see when you start at C, which is the root, is your first note. Let's see if I can move the mouse. Will that come up? Yeah. So the first note of the scale is a C. You move a whole step up from that, which is 2 frets, up to the D, which is the second note of the scale. You move a whole step, which is 2 frets, up from that to get an E, which is the third note. A half step up from that, which is 1 fret, goes to the F, which is the fourth note. Then a whole step to G, a whole step to A, and a whole step to B. Then a half step up to the octave. So if we want to play that on guitar, I'll just get my guitar ready. Hopefully you can hear this over the microphone. Where are we? So I see on the lowest string on the guitar, the low E is on fret 8. So using this tab, you go C, up a whole step, which is 2 frets, up to the B, or D, sorry. C, D, 2 frets, up to the E. You can also play it all on one string if you want to. Say if you go to the C, which is on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, you just can move up the number of frets according to the whole step and half step sequence. So So I probably should have a camera pointed at me to show myself doing that, but it's essentially just a sequence of notes that you have to memorize, and the tablature that's on your screen right now is an easy way of doing it, where it's kind of compacted. You don't have to span the fretboard so far, and it's also a pattern you can learn off to play the major scale. It can be moved around, this pattern, to use it on different scales. So for example, the G major scale is the same sequence of steps that we used in the C major scale, just starting on a different root note. So the G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So the G major scale has one sharp in it, which is an F. So when we look at the in-depth view using the steps sequence, it starts on a G, moves up to an A, which is 2 frets, 1 fret up to a B, 2 frets to C, 2 to D, 2 up to E, then 2 up to an F sharp, and then 1 fret up to the G, which is the octave of the root. So a tab of this is 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5. And as I was saying earlier, if you look at this, it's actually the exact same pattern as you played for C, just instead of starting on the 8th fret, you're starting on the 3rd. So you can move this around to any root note, such as the E, where it's just 0, 2, 4. And then on the 5th string, 0, 2, 4. And then on the 4th string, it would be 2 and 3. Would it? No, 1 and 2, sorry. So now I'll just go through some of the scale patterns to give you an idea of how to actually apply this to music rather than just theory. So there are several patterns that you can work from to play the major scale on the fretboard. I have 5 of them in front of me now. I've been focusing on just one though for the moment, because I mean, memorizing multiple patterns at the same time is just going to get confusing. So I'm going to show you the one that I've been working on most. So that would be G major. This is a handy pattern to learn first, because most guitarists, beginners, will know what every note on the low E string is. So if you start this pattern at any point up the fretboard or down the fretboard, you know what major scale you're playing because you start on the root note. So this is the A major scale. It's just a whole step up from the G, which, as we learned earlier, is 2 frets. So I'll go back to the G. I'll have these scales up in the corner like I normally do with these kind of tutorials. Yeah, so it's just 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 3. I'm not sure if that's very clear to follow the way I called it out there, but it's on the screen. Yeah. But it's on the screen, so, you know, learn it. There are other patterns that I don't have memorized. If you want to start on the 5th string instead. Yeah, see, that one's a bit more difficult because you can't complete the second octave. Well, you can if you just try a little, like I just did. But yeah, so why is this useful? Several reasons. The first being you can then solo or improvise much more easily over any song that you know is in a major scale if you know what the scale is or what the key is. So say you know something is in the key of A major, you just start on A and play that sequence of notes. And you know that every note that you play is going to be in the same key as the song, so you can mess around, try out different melodies and come up with something on the fly. So it's good for solos, essentially. And another reason why it's good to learn this is just every other scale is based off of the major scale, and so much of music theory is based off it that it's the best foundation to start from. Chord theory is heavily based on it as well, which we're going to get into eventually once I get past a couple more basics. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about it for now. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe and check back next time.